hearts be acceptable in your sight, O God, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. One February, back when I was a preteen, I decided to help my father get a head start with his garden by growing my own tomato plants in the basement of the parsonage. I counted on my green thumb to save Dad a few bucks on tomato plants come April or May, and began to establish my reputation within the household as a resident gardener par excellence. Well, on that February day, I walked down the street of the tiny hosiery mill town of Alamance, North Carolina, to the local hardware store. There, I bought a packet of Big Boy seeds and a packet of Better Boy seeds. I still chuckle at the lack of botanical imagination or appreciation for gender balance in those persons who label these seed varieties. Big Boy? Better Boy? Really? Anyway, with the packets in my pocket, I hurried home, mixed up some rich dirt from the spot where the previous pastor had a pigeon coop, sowed the tiny tomato seeds in a flat, covered, watered, watched, and watched, and watched. A week passed by. Less enthusiastically, I went down to the basement, watered, watched, watched, and watched. No growth, no action to be seen. After several weeks of this routine, I threw up my hands. Forget it. So I took the whole experiment out into the woods near a creek and chucked it into a patch of poison ivy. "2,000 years ago, a band of disciples followed an itinerant Jewish preacher around the byways and side towns of Galilee, as Jesus of Nazareth sowed seeds of trust, mercy, love, hope, and healing everywhere he went. Because the disciples had been chosen by him to share in this sowing, they too were hands-on in this great mission of proclaiming and participating in the kingdom of God. We don't know for sure, but some scholars suspect that one or two of these disciples of Jesus came from the Zealot movement in Judaism in those days. They were impatient revolutionaries who expected and demanded fast action and visible messianic results in order to overthrow the Roman occupiers. Zealots were fanatics. Why wait on God? Maybe we can provoke God and his Messiah to act with a workable nudge of our own scheming. Results now. Overthrow Rome immediately, if not sooner. With equal temptation and fervor, we too look in the mirror and oftentimes see impatient zealots. Results or else. Quick results or find a better technique. James Wall once expressed this impatience and loss of perspective in an issue of the Christian Century magazine, and I quote, "The challenge is to determine which perspective will govern our lives, the success-oriented, achievement-driven, judgment-rendering perspective of modern society, or the mysterious God-centered worldview of a faith governed by love, forgiveness, compassion, and understanding. But excuse me, Mr. Wall, we wish to see the growth, the progress, the results. Can I be sure on this Father's Day 2018 that bedtime prayers with my son or daughter, plus my imperfect Christian example, will sow the seeds of faith for them later down the road? Are the seeds sown by this congregation's programs going to bear fruit? Will the umpteen visits to care for a crotchety neighbor rub off some of the entitlement and rub on a little gratitude? In a world of gun violence and thirsty cries for vengeance and tit-for-tat justice, will God's word of forgiveness planted in our ears ever take root within our households, and around our work environments, in our schools, and throughout the world? Another case of gun violence in my backyard just last night. I was just at that event right before that occurred at the Art All Night in Trenton. Jesus did not have time-lapse photography to prove scientifically to his disciples that God's mysterious kingdom is in effect permeating and promulgating the new creation. But Jesus did have a story, a parable of promise to fill his listeners with a measure of patience. Jesus says it's like this. God's reign is as if someone would scatter seed on the ground and would sleep and rise day after day, and the seed would sprout and grow. He does not know how. The earth, all of it, mind you, good, bad, indifferent, rich, basic, acidic, with cynicism, bears fruit of itself. The earth produces automatically. The kingdom breaks into the world, plants the word, and sows the seeds. God injects his kingdom activity into any kind of earth, any kind of world, not only into a world of crackerjack responders or spiritual pros, but yes, into a world of sinners, deadbeats, and assorted other poor excuses for soil. That kingdom will come by itself. First the blade, then the ear, then the full grain of the ear, and then the full-blown harvest will come. It is inevitable. Dear brothers and sisters, let us take part with the perspective of Jesus' parable this morning. The dynamic kingdom of God grows in a hidden, mysterious, surprising sort of way, independently of any human control, contrivance, or cooperation. As Martin Luther says in the Small Catechism, God's kingdom comes on its own. Yes, God gives the growth. God will give the growth in God's own way, in God's own eternal time frame. The growth is not always visible, external, or measurable, but the harvest is coming. The blade, the ear, the full stalk shall appear. So what do? We keep on sowing seeds of love and hope and compassion. We keep on teaching and preaching and serving others by our example. We keep on praying that God's kingdom will indeed come to us and through us. We keep on watching. We keep on parenting. We keep on serving. God's harvest is coming. God's kingdom will bring results in accordance with God's own will, promise, and timetable. Thanks be to God.